And so his wife, Khadijah, was always there for him. She would become his wife. Obviously, at this time, she wasn't his wife yet. So this woman, Khadijah, who was his boss at this time, she went to one of her kind of workers, and she's Nafisa. She said, do you think that the Prophet, or do you think that Muhammad, at that time he wasn't the Prophet, right? And she said, would you think that he would be interested in someone like me? She didn't believe it, like. And then Nafisa went to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she said, do you think that you'd be interested? And he was like the same. He was like, I don't think so. Why? He humble, like, mashallah, And then he went to basically her uncle, and long story short, they got married. And he was 25, and some reports say that she was 28 or 29. Some other reports say that she was 40. She was older than him, full stop. Okay, she was older than him, full stop. They still did business together. They still worked. It was still a very functional marriage. And he always retreated now to the cave. And this is called Ghar Hira. And if you go to Saudi Arabia, you can see this place. It's a small, nice enclave, like a small cave. You have to go up. It's actually quite a long thing to get up there. And he would just sit there and think about God. And he would think about, like, purpose of life. He had that, as we said, a meditative temperament, which shows you really the power of seclusion. Just being by yourself sometimes. Like, the age that we live in is too much hustle and bustle in the cosmopolitan world that we live in. To retreat sometimes by yourself, even if you're in a car driving or something, just by yourself and think to yourself, this is what I need to get done. You can clear your thoughts, have clarity of mind. That's what he was trying to achieve. And he wanted to worship God. So he'd do this regularly. He'd go to the cave. His wife was very supportive, extremely supportive. And he went to the cave one day, and he was doing the same routine that he's used to, which shows you the power of routine. And all of a sudden he was grabbed. Something held onto him and seized him, and he was shocked by it. And whatever that thing was said, Iqra, said, read, recite. And he said, Ma ana biqari, I can't read. It's not something I can do, because he was illiterate, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because it was the society, actually, most people in that society couldn't read and write. It was an oral culture. So most poetry was done orally rather than through the pen. And then Iqra, one more time, read, recite. Because the word Iqra means read, but it also means recite. He goes, Ma ana biqari, I can't read. What's this? Like, shock, a feeling of shock. And you can imagine now, just him in the cave, feeling like that and feeling constrained, straight-jacketed by this experience, and shocked, because this is no joke of an experience right now. And then finally, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Read in thy name of your Lord who created, khalaq al-insana min alaq, created the human being from a clot. Iqra wa rabbuka al-akram. And read, and your Lord is the most generous. Alladhi allama bil qalam. The one who taught with the pen. He is the one who taught with the pen. After that, he was shocked, and then it was released. That feeling, that straight-jacketed. He can finally exhale now. This was a shocking experience. And he looked up into the horizon, and he saw something, an angelic creature with huge wings. Like, imagine seeing a huge tree in front of you that blocks your entire vision. It shades everything that's in front of him. He went back home, and he said to his wife, he said, Zammiluni, Zammiluni. He said, just cover me up. And look how honest this report is. Look how human this report is. Look how it reveals the very normal and natural insecurities of human being, of vulnerability to things which are unpredictable, to things which create anxiousness. This is reported. He said, Zammiluni, Zammiluni. He said, cover me up. And then Khadijah, wallah, when you hear the stuff that she says in reaffirming words, you know why she's the best. She's the best wife that the Prophet Muhammad ever had. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. She was like, no, Allah wouldn't punish you. And she mentioned some of his good traits, that he feeds the poor, charity that he does, that is good to the orphan. The Prophet himself was an orphan. Don't forget that. He was an orphan. And when you remember, when we say that the Prophet Muhammad was an orphan, you think to yourself, when these people talk about him in the negative way, do they even know that he was an orphan, that he lived this underprivileged socioeconomic upbringing? He was an orphan. And Khadijah here, going back to the point, was convincing him, look, don't worry, Allah is not it's not a punishment. So what Khadijah said, she had a cousin, Warqa bin Nawfal, yeah? He was a Christian at that. He was one of the few Christians that lived in Mecca. So they went to him and they said to him, like, what's going on right now? So he basically, because obviously he has access to the New Testament or biblical information or whatever you want to call it, Christianity, he had access to the Christian tradition to some extent, whatever form it took in Arabia at that time. And bear in mind, the Bible was not translated in Arabic at that time. It was not translated, the Old Testament or the New Testament. He said, look, this is the angel that comes to all of the prophets. And he started giving warnings to the Prophet Muhammad, saying, look, you are going to face persecution, basically, to put it in a long story short, and I'm paraphrasing. He said, basically, you're going to, because this kind of thing didn't happen to anybody, except that they faced persecution and resistance. And that's exactly what he faced.